A U.S. Marine shoved her in the mess hall. Then, 4 generals walked in and saluted her first. A shove. A stumble. The mess hall froze. No one expected what came next. The day had started like any other at Camp Pendleton. Marines lined up, trays in hand, the smell of cooked eggs filling the air. She walked confidently through the mess hall, uniform crisp, boots clicking against the linoleum floor. Then it happened. A Marine, frustrated and unaware of who she was, shoved her aside as he passed. The room went silent. Heads turned. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. She didn't fall, she didn't shout. She paused, regained her stance, and gave the Marine a look, calm, steady, and commanding. The shove wasn't malicious, but it was disrespectful, and for most that would have been the start of an argument. But not for her. She had been in situations far worse, facing hostility where failure meant more than embarrassment. Just as murmurs began to ripple through the hall, the doors opened. 4 generals stepped in together, not walking behind her, not passing by. They stopped, surveyed the room, and then, without hesitation, they saluted. The Marine who had shoved her froze mid-step. Other Marines straightened instantly. Conversations ended. The air itself seemed to shift. This wasn't a display for the generals. It wasn't theatrics. The salute was automatic, commanded by respect earned in the field, proven in combat, and recognized by those who understood the weight of true leadership. She returned the salute, eyes meeting each general's briefly, then set it aside. No pride, no boast, only silent authority. And in that moment, the entire mess hall understood one unspoken rule. Appearances can deceive, uniforms can mislead, but history, experience, and earned respect always speak first. The Marine's eyes widened as he realized his mistake. But she didn't confront him. She didn't need to. She had earned a different kind of respect, one that didn't require intimidation. Her service record spoke louder than any words, louder than a uniform or a title. The generals approached, scanning the room. Each carried decades of military experience, decisions weighed by consequences that few could imagine. And yet, when their eyes met hers, recognition struck instantly. It wasn't her rank on paper. It wasn't even a medal on her chest. It was a symbol, silent, unmistakable, of someone who had faced combat in ways that only a handful of people in the world could. Whispers started among the other Marines. "Do you see that?" one muttered. She's not just another Marine." The generals saluted first, not because protocol demanded it, not because the mess hall was formal, but because they had been in situations where lives depended on skill, courage, and leadership, and they saw all of that reflected in her. She had been in combat zones where split-second decisions meant survival. She had led teams in hostile environments, navigated operations that were classified, and earned trust from commanders who demanded nothing less than perfection. The Marine who had shoved her stood frozen, unsure how to react. Around him, the room seemed to hold its breath. Even the cooks in the background paused with trays half filled, eyes wide. She returned the salute, not with arrogance, but with acknowledgement. That simple gesture carried more authority than 1,000 words, and in that instant, everyone in the mess hall understood. True authority comes from experience, courage, and the legacy of service. As she set down her tray, she didn't smile. She didn't need to. Her actions had already spoken for her.
The mess hall had fallen into a quiet reverence. Every Marine, every officer, every civilian staffer could feel it, the weight of history in the room. The generals, however, were not just recognizing her presence, they were acknowledging decades of action, missions executed flawlessly, and leadership proven under the most extreme conditions imaginable. She had been in hostile zones where every decision was a life or death gamble. Convoys ambushed, enemy fire unpredictable, civilians caught in the crossfire. She had led teams through impossible odds, navigating terrain, logistics, and tactical chaos with precision. And she had done it silently, without fanfare, without needing recognition. The Marine who had shoved her could only stare, suddenly aware that this woman had lived experiences he couldn't even imagine. He had seen her in formation, uniform crisp, demeanor calm, but now understanding began to dawn. This wasn't just a Marine. This was someone who had earned every bit of respect she commanded, and then some. The generals conferred quietly among themselves, nodding subtly. Their salute had been automatic, instinctive, but now it carried weight. This was someone who had demonstrated mastery of her craft in combat zones far from the public eye. Every gesture, every glance, every movement in that mess hall confirmed her authority. She didn't need to speak. She didn't need to explain. The room already understood. Her legacy, visible in her composure, her silent acknowledgement of the generals, and the insignia on her uniform, had spoken louder than any words ever could. Even the other Marines, who had initially whispered and smirked, straightened. Pride, awe, and a sense of humility settled over them. They were witnessing respect earned in the harshest environments, recognized instantly by 4 of the highest-ranking officers in the service. And in that moment, one simple truth became clear to everyone in the hall. Leadership is not measured by who shoves first or by who speaks loudest. It is measured by experience, courage, and the ability to inspire respect without demanding it. The generals finally stepped aside, leaving her in quiet command of the room's attention. Her presence alone had rewritten the hierarchy, not on paper, but in the hearts and minds of everyone present. The room had returned to a semblance of normalcy, but the atmosphere had changed forever. Every Marine, officer, and staffer now understood that respect wasn't given lightly. It was earned, and sometimes it arrived quietly through decades of action, leadership, and courage under fire. The 4 generals standing near the entrance observed her silently. They didn't speak, but the weight of their acknowledgement was unmistakable. Each salute had been instinctive, but now it carried full meaning. She had led operations where mistakes were fatal, missions so classified that even the most senior officers knew only fragments. Convoys through hostile territory, covert intelligence operations, tactical extractions under enemy fire. Her record was a tapestry of skill, discipline, and courage. The Marine who had shoved her earlier shifted uncomfortably, suddenly aware that his mistake was more than social. It had been a misjudgment of someone whose authority could never be questioned. She moved to her table, placing her tray down deliberately, calm, collected. Her eyes briefly met each general's, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. No words were needed. Their respect had been earned long before this moment through actions that only those who had faced true combat could fully understand. The generals began to exit one by one, leaving the mess hall. Their final nods lingered in the air, a permanent imprint of recognition for all present. The other Marines straightened, some whispering in awe, others silently inspired. She remained seated a moment longer, composed, aware of the lesson her presence had imparted. Respect isn't demanded. Authority isn't assumed. Leadership is proven through action, experience, and courage under fire. The mess hall slowly returned to routine, but no one would forget the moment when 4 of the highest-ranking officers in the Marine Corps had saluted first. This is united war, where courage, skill, and earned respect command more attention than rank, and true leadership is recognized before words are spoken.